Welcome to Book Buzz Reviews and Summaries. Mastery by Robert Greene. Imagine standing at the threshold of your potential, staring into a vast landscape filled with challenges, knowledge, and untapped power. Robert Greene's mastery is your guide across this terrain, a blueprint not for the lucky or the naturally gifted, but for those willing to commit themselves fully to the journey of learning, growth, and transformation. The path to mastery begins with the apprenticeship phase. Here, humility is your compass and patience is your ally. Greene shows us that talent alone is meaningless without the discipline to observe, imitate, and absorb the wisdom of those who have walked before you. In this stage, repetition is not monotony. It is the forge in which skill is tempered. Mistakes become teachers, and curiosity fuels progress. Apprentices learn to embrace reality, to see the world not as they wish it were, but as it truly is. They watch, they study, they dissect every nuance, every pattern, until knowledge becomes instinct. But mastery is not simply learning. It is understanding yourself and your craft at the deepest level. Every master, from Leonardo da Vinci to Mozart, began as a wide-eyed student, yet they thrived because they transformed routine into insight and observation into intuition. The apprentice endures frustration, repetition, and slow progress, but emerges with a foundation so solid that the next phase, the creative active stage, becomes possible. In the creative active phase, the journey shifts from imitation to innovation. Here, the apprentice steps out of the shadows of their mentors and begins to carve their own path. Greene teaches that every master must align with their life's task, that singular mission that resonates with their deepest passions. When your work aligns with this task, effort becomes obsession, and obstacles are no longer deterrents, but catalysts for growth. In this stage, knowledge fuses with intuition. Patterns previously learned now serve as building blocks for originality. Mistakes are embraced as experiments, friction as feedback, and while independence grows, mentorship remains invaluable, guiding, challenging, and refining your vision. The creative active phase is electrifying. It is the stage where the seeds of apprenticeship blossom into unique contributions, where mastery begins to leave its mark on the world. Finally, Greene leads us to the mastery phase, the pinnacle, where skill, intuition, and social intelligence converge. Here, action flows effortlessly from experience. Decisions are guided not by trial and error alone, but by a deep, intuitive understanding of patterns, consequences, and human nature. Masters harness not only technical brilliance, but also social intelligence, influencing others, navigating complexity, and transforming adversity into opportunity. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable become stepping stones. Failures are reframed as lessons, and every setback sharpens insight. At this level, mastery is a lifelong pursuit. It is not a destination, but a living, breathing state of excellence. Masters leave a legacy. Their work reshapes fields, inspires generations, and elevates human potential. Greene reminds us that mastery is earned, not given. It demands discipline, curiosity, patience, resilience, and vision. And most importantly, it is accessible to anyone willing to embrace the path fully. So what do we take from this journey? 1. Apprenticeship builds the foundation. The mastery of any craft begins with humility, observation, and deliberate practice. Without these, genius cannot emerge. 2. Creative independence unlocks originality. Align your work with your life's task. Fuse knowledge with intuition. and embrace experimentation. This is where your unique contribution takes form. Mastery is a lifelong pursuit. At the pinnacle, skill, intuition, social intelligence, and resilience converge. You transform challenges into innovation and leave a lasting legacy. Robert Greene's Mastery is more than a book. It is a call to action. It tells us that greatness is not random, not reserved for the gifted, but crafted, earned, and lived. The journey may be long, the trials arduous, but the rewards, personal transformation, creative power, and lasting influence, are unmatched. Step onto this path, commit, persist, and unlock the extraordinary potential that lies within you. Part 1 Summary: The Apprenticeship Phase. Imagine standing at the very edge of a vast, untamed landscape, a landscape of knowledge, skill, and personal power. Robert Greene, in Mastery, doesn't just hand you a map to this terrain. He teaches you how to navigate it, how to endure its trials, and how to emerge transformed, elevated, and virtually unstoppable. From the first page, Greene ignites a fire in the reader, telling us that mastery is not a lucky gift reserved for the prodigies. It is the inevitable reward of those willing to commit fully to a path of learning and deliberate practice. The journey begins with the apprenticeship phase, and Greene draws us in with stories of historical icons: Mozart, Leonardo da Vinci, Benjamin Franklin, who all began as learners, wide-eyed and eager, yet relentlessly disciplined. Here's the first revelation: raw talent alone is meaningless without the crucible of sustained effort. Talent can give you a head start, but the apprenticeship is where the foundation of mastery is forged. Greene emphasizes 3 critical lessons. Embrace reality, not fantasy. The world will not bend to your desires. The apprentice learns humility, absorbing the rules of the craft, observing experts, and understanding that skill is built incrementally. Greene warns against the seductive traps of instant gratification and ego-driven shortcuts, which lead most aspirants astray. The masters he profiles all began by accepting their beginner status. They immersed themselves in observation, imitation, and patient repetition. 2. Observe intensively. Learn strategically. Apprentices are not passive. They study patterns, dissect techniques, and internalize the nuances of their craft. Greene describes this as active observation. The apprentice watches not just what masters do, but why they do it, decoding the invisible logic behind brilliance. For instance, Leonardo da Vinci did not merely copy. He asked why a hand moved as it did, why light fell in a particular way. His observation became a lens into the very mechanics of life itself. 2. Transform routine into knowledge. Greene's genius is in revealing that mastery requires deep immersion, not mere casual practice. The apprentice must be willing to endure repetitive, sometimes tedious tasks, learning to weave complexity into simplicity, building intuition layer by layer. Here, Greene turns a mirror to us. How often do we avoid repetitive labor in favor of flashy work that produces immediate recognition? The masters embraced monotony because they knew it contained hidden seeds of genius. As Part 1 unfolds, Greene introduces the crucial psychological insight: apprenticeship is as much about internal growth as technical skill. Emotional resilience, patience, and curiosity are the silent engines powering every true master. The apprentice confronts frustration, mistakes, and slow progress, not as obstacles, but as essential tools for shaping a mind capable of innovation and excellence. Greene's examples, drawn from a panorama of artists, scientists, and warriors, illustrate that the discomfort of learning is the currency of mastery. By the end of this first part, the reader understands that mastery is not an event, it is a process, a path that requires humility, dedication, and unwavering focus. The apprentice phase is about absorbing the rules, developing observational skills, and cultivating an unshakable work ethic. Green inspires us to see ourselves as lifelong students, embracing the grind not as punishment, but as the key to liberation, the freedom to create, innovate, and ultimately transcend ordinary life. Part 2 summary: the creative active phase. If Part 1 planted the seeds of mastery in the fertile soil of apprenticeship, Part 2 is the moment those seeds begin to sprout. Green calls this the creative active phase, the time when the learner moves beyond imitation and begins to develop a voice uniquely their own. The apprentice has studied, repeated, and absorbed the wisdom of masters. Now, the transformation begins. The disciplined student becomes the innovator, the original thinker, the creator. Green opens this phase with an electrifying truth. Mastery demands that we stop being mere followers and start taking risks. Here, creativity is not whimsical, it is deliberate. It is born from a deep, intimate understanding of one's craft. Imagine an alchemist standing at the edge of known reality, combining rules with intuition, past knowledge with bold experimentation. This is the creative active phase. 3 monumental lessons define this stage. 1. Discover your life's task. Green emphasizes that every master has aligned their work with a singular, compelling mission, a task that resonates with their deepest interests and passions. This is not about chasing trends or external validation. It is about identifying what you were born to do. He calls it the life's task. Historical examples abound. Charles Darwin devoted decades to meticulous observation and data collection because evolution was his task. Martha Graham redefined dance because movement itself was her calling. Green insists if your work is aligned with your life's task, effort transforms into obsession, and obstacles become challenges to conquer rather than barriers to stop you. Fuse intuition with knowledge. In the apprenticeship phase, the learner acquires rules and patterns. In the creative active phase, the master begins to bend and fuse them, developing intuition. Green describes this as moving from mechanical skill to organic intelligence. The hand may follow practiced routines, but the mind innovates, seeing connections invisible to others. Here, mistakes are no longer setbacks. They are experiments, stepping stones on the path to originality. The great innovator does not fear error. They embrace it as part of the creative equation. Mentorship as a launchpad. Even as the aspirant becomes independent, Green underscores the irreplaceable value of mentors. True mentors do not hand you answers. They challenge you, provoke you, and push you to think beyond your comfort zone. The master learners in Green's examples, Mozart under Leopold, Einstein under trusted colleagues, thrived because mentorship provided both guidance and friction. It is the crucible in which raw talent is tested and refined, ultimately empowering the apprentice to step boldly into autonomy. As this phase unfolds, Green stresses that the path is not linear. Frustration and periods of stagnation are inevitable. But here lies the paradoxical truth. Mastery grows precisely in these moments of tension. The aspirant learns to embrace struggle as the engine of creativity, transforming hardship into insight, repetition into originality. The creative active phase is where the master begins to leave a signature on the world, not just emulate it. By the conclusion of Part 2, the reader begins to understand the exhilarating promise of mastery. It is no longer about surviving within a framework, but about reshaping it, innovating within it, and leaving a mark that is unmistakably your own. The apprentice has become a creator, a visionary in training, poised to step into the ultimate stage of mastery. Art 3 Summary: The Mastery Phase. If Part 1 planted the seeds of skill, and Part 2 nurtured creativity and independence, Part 3 is the moment of full bloom, the mastery phase. Green shows us that mastery is not merely technical brilliance. It is a state of being, a fusion of intuition, experience, and social intelligence, where the individual operates at a level that seems almost effortless to outsiders, yet is the product of decades of deliberate practice, experimentation, and relentless pursuit of excellence. At this stage, the practitioner transcends rules. They become fluid, adaptable, and visionary. Green reminds us that mastery is a lifelong pursuit. It is not a destination, but a dynamic process of growth, refinement, and evolution. Here are the central lessons. 1. Awaken the intuitive mind. At the highest level, the master no longer relies solely on conscious reasoning. Experience has built a deep reservoir of knowledge in the subconscious, enabling intuitive decision-making that is precise, swift, and often astonishing in its accuracy. Green illustrates this with examples like Einstein's thought experiments or Temple Grandin's animal handling insights. Decades of practice crystallize into immediate understanding. The master perceives patterns and possibilities that others cannot even see. This intuition is not magical. It is the logical consequence of immersion, observation, and persistent problem-solving. 2. Harness social intelligence. Mastery is not achieved in isolation. Green emphasizes that understanding human nature, navigating social dynamics, and influencing others are critical skills for true power. Masters like Da Vinci and Galileo succeeded not only because of their technical skill, but because they understood patrons, competitors, and collaborators, and could position themselves strategically within complex social networks. The master combines deep knowledge with empathy, strategic thinking, and persuasion, an often overlooked but essential component of genius. Transform adversity into power. Green's masters consistently turn obstacles into fuel for advancement. Setbacks, failures, and resistance are not deterrents. They are accelerants. Mastery demands resilience and adaptability, qualities honed over decades of confronting difficulty. By reframing challenges as opportunities, the master grows stronger, wiser, and more creative. Green's examples, from Darwin's meticulous work in isolation to Freddie Roach's transformative coaching methods, show that adversity becomes a master's greatest teacher. Create your legacy. At this level, the individual's work transcends personal achievement. Green demonstrates that true mastery leaves an indelible mark on the world, inspiring generations. Masters innovate, redefine industries, and expand the boundaries of human possibility. Their brilliance is not merely in skill, but in vision, insight, and the ability to lift others through their influence. Mastery becomes a ripple effect, where one person's dedication can reshape an entire field. Green closes this final stage with a profound insight. Mastery is the marriage of discipline and creativity, patience and boldness, observation and intuition. It is the ultimate human potential, available to anyone willing to commit fully to a path of growth and continuous learning. The journey is arduous, but the reward is nothing less than the transformation of the self into a force of excellence, vision, and enduring influence. Key takeaways from mastery. Apprenticeship builds the foundation. Humility, observation, and repetitive practice form the bedrock of all genius. Without this, creativity cannot flourish. Creative independence unlocks originality. Align your work with your life's task, fuse knowledge with intuition, and embrace experimentation to leave your unique mark. Mastery is a lifelong pursuit. True mastery blends intuition, social intelligence, resilience, and vision, allowing the individual to transform challenges into innovation and leave a lasting legacy. In essence, Robert Greene's mastery is not just a guide, it is a call to action, a blueprint for anyone who wishes to ascend from mediocrity to brilliance. It teaches that greatness is neither random nor inherited, it is crafted, earned, and lived. Thanks for listening to Book Buzz Reviews and Summaries.